in-game rewards, get some pins, flex them on your randoms, and I don't think we have any differences to flex here now, Teddy. We seem to have all of the same predictions, so guide us through the hive mind mentality of why these teams are going to win.
Yeah, on paper, you know, most of those quarterfinal matches are pretty clear cut. So I think all of us decided to really go for the favorites in this one. Zeta Division 0 over Sunny 10.
It's here now, Teddy.
Division 1 over Verilion. And here's the thing, you know, it's really just the teams with the more experience, because some of their opponents, it's their first monthly finals for a couple of those players, a couple of those teams. So I think that is going to take a little bit of adjustment to make up for. And yeah, facing teams like Zeta this early on is just so challenging.
Well, in spite of all the consistency that we have in this region, some inconsistencies do pop up. Some new teams looking to make a name for themselves too that could disrupt the current leaderboard. Currently first and second, only separated by a hair's width. 3 points separate Zeta Division 1 is Zeta Division 0. But Kenny, none of these spots are actually locked in just yet. It's really anyone's game.
That's absolutely true. I mean, and this is the time to really strike back. If you're Rising Sun Esports or Ataru Chan Club, you got to step it up this month. And going against Zeta Division 1 or Zeta Division 0, if they move past their first round, a hard task for anybody. And again, you know, that 3-point differential between the top two teams, I think again reflects how competitive these two teams has been. Even though Zeta Division 1 won the MSI, the only team in BSC that's been able to best them is Zeta Division 0. I think it goes to reflect the caliber of strength in this region. And I think, you know, anything can really happen. Rising Sun Esports have also pushed Zeta Division 1 in the past months. They've got a couple successful ones, so that's definitely a team that I think we have to give a lot of respect.
Well, of course, Zeta 0, as you said, did take the win in the last month, but the game has changed. We got some maps coming in, we got some maps leaving, some familiar faces for better or for worse. Teddy, some of these names on the list are a little scary to me.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's the
all of the same predictions, so change. We got some maps coming in, we got some maps leaving, some familiar faces for better or for worse. Teddy, some of these
out of the mix. It's going to be Backyard Bolt, Center Stage, Beach Ball instead. For Gem Grab, we have Deep Diner and Minecart Madness added to the list. Knockout has Out in the Open, and Hot Zone has Open Zone showing up. So quite a couple of different maps, more than usual, especially when it comes to Brawl Ball and Gem Grab.
Well, Teddy, I gotta give you the Hard Rock Mine treatment. As much as we love you, we gotta say goodbye because we're getting ready for our first quarterfinal matchup of the day. Zeta 0 versus none other than Sunny 10. And this is going to be an exciting matchup too, because Sunny 10, we've seen them before. Now they had to face versus Zeta 1 that time. Now they get to face, not really sure if it's the older or the younger sister, right? We don't really know if these guys are a level playing field just yet. Maybe they're twins. But it's not going to be any easier with Zeta Division 0 standing confidently on this side of the arena.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to get much easier for them either. I think Twin might be the best way to put it, to be honest with you. Tensai, Kuru, and Achapi, all phenomenal players. They've had a lot of success, not only in the BSC, but in other third-party events, just like Snapdragon Pro Series. And that was without Tensai. They were managing their entire roster and success without that player, which has been very pivotal for them. I think Tensai is definitely one to watch today. And I'm very excited to see what they can do stepping back in this month and see who kind of can take the crown and maybe, you know, divvy up this tiebreaker a little bit.
Tensai is totally a key player on this roster, and I absolutely will second that. This is a player that we got to keep our eyes on here, and maybe as a star player, he'll be kind of a pivotal target for the opposition. At Sunny 10, we got to see how they're going to try and make a targeted approach, a targeted takedown versus Zeta 0. It's Sanikama, Totoro, and Siotin. If you're not familiar, these guys did play in one of our previous monthly finals this year, and they're back, and they're as ready as ever, Kenny.
For sure. And I mean, last month they did have to play Zeta Division 1 in the quarterfinals. We're only able to take one game off them in the process. This is going to be one of those matchups where, you know, you're facing a team of similar caliber. You really have to step up your game and either outdrafting them, finding a strategy maybe they haven't seen, and finding success all the way throughout it. So I think it's very reasonable that all three of us end up picking Zeta Division 0 in this matchup. No disrespect to Sunny 10, of course. It is very difficult to be a top 8 team in your region on any given month. But I also think, given what we've seen from Zeta Zeta Division Zero. They've earned that respect from me. They've been top 2 throughout the year and won a couple off the board. So I think overall, that's kind of where my head's at for this matchup.
We'll see if Zeta Division Zero gets out or dafted, because that's really the name of the game for these guys. We got to see if anyone can possibly get any leg up on these guys, because what we've seen in the Zeta v Zeta matches is that their mechanics are rock solid. We've seen some slip ups. I think in the past we saw some missed gene pulls here and there, but really we're just looking for absolutely anything to pick apart Zeta Zero here, because for the most part, they look like a pretty perfectly playing Brawl Stars team. We'll kick things off with Out in the Open, though, and as our opening game, this will be a nice introduction, perhaps a rude awakening as well, for our latest new addition to the game. Knockout is never going to be the same, and Sunny 10 is already going to snatch up a key pick for Zeta Division Zero. They're already taking away that max that Tensai is known so well for.
Yeah, this is a big comfort brawler for the region, and a very interesting take here on the ban stage. They're going to actually be banning Grom here, and in every other region, I don't really think I've seen this brawler at all. The occasional tick or sprout maybe in practices, but in actual play, haven't seen it a ton. This is one of those times, I think, where they're trying to go with a composition that's either comfortable for them or taking away strengths from their opponents. Again, Max a very solid overall brawler, but even this, I haven't really seen in a lot of other regions. We didn't see it last weekend, to my knowledge. Lola, Piper, pretty normal choices, I would say, and Sunny 10 going to be running the BB. This is an old strategy that's actually been used in other modes. I think Safe Zone historically put a healer alongside this, and they kind of just made these aggressive plays. They might be trying to utilize something similar for Out in the Open. Overall, though, I think intuitively we're going to expect some sharp shooters here, and Sunny 10 going for the exact opposite so far.
Well, after MSI, this is kind of the East Asia mentality. When someone sees Zeta do something, whether it's 0 or 1, people are going to copy it as long as it succeeds. And BB is absolutely one of those picks, and it's been played to great fruition around the globe. And we'll see actually Sunny 10 go for yet another tanky brawler. This is a little bit peculiar. Gale still on the table. This is pretty much a no-brainer for Zeta Division Zero to go for this brawler, because he counters out 2 enemies from Sunny 10. The question is, will he get overwhelmed? When you have 2 giant walls of health running at you, yeah, you can get your super, you can use that super, you can chain another super, but after that you're out of ammo and you could get overwhelmed. I'm curious to see how this max-centric tank comp works out for Sunny 10, but Zeta Division Zero are so good at locking down control at no matter what range they find themselves at. It's going to be a tough challenge.
Yeah, and somebody like Piper could really struggle in this comp. Launchpad being utilized right off the rip, but being shredded by a Choppy. Kuru hiding in the bushes as well. BB trying to approach, and Max now looking for a pinch here onto a Choppy. A lot of damage being put out by Zeta Division Zero. However, they really haven't been able to take mid here, now finally landing some shots. Super going down for a double Tensai with a pickup, and now that's going to be a 3v2 situation for Zeta Division Zero.
Well, Siotin can certainly get some value on Tensai. Tensai could be running auto aimer just as a sort of safety net. Siotin is going to be getting a kill with that bubble. Big pinch on him is going to buy a little time for Sarikama to try and get some value. If anything, he can get a super here, but for the most part, it is looking like a bit of a W for Zeta Division Zero. A nice tap here for Tensai to end things off. Choppy already has his super available as well. But likewise goes for Totoro. Gonna go ahead and use that jump pad, try and get in close range to guarantee a stun with this super. Not gonna use it just yet. Was hoping that a Choppy would use his super first. Easy super farmed up for a Choppy. A free kill for him too. And maybe even another as Sarikama gets pinched too. This is a GG.
Yeah, I feel like if they're going to go with a composition like this, it's really determined kind of in that draft and ban stage. When I see somebody like Rom come out as a ban, you know, that's honestly a brawler I would think this composition would excel against, and honestly not a very common one for this map either. It is really curious to me to see what ends up happening here, and especially leaving Gale on the board, I feel like is almost a mistake here. I mean, it's going to do so well into so many of these brawlers. Gadget being popped instantly. Kuru and Tensai get the takedown immediately though, and once again, Zeta Division Zero in a 3v2 scenario. Sunny 10 have really got to step it up here.
They're going to have to find some way to deal with a Choppy, because there's no doubt in my mind that they knew that last pick was going to be a Gale. Yes, Gale is pretty straightforward to counter. You just got to outrange him, but a great way to get value on your last pick is to pick a countering brawler like Gale that no one can respond to. And this is exactly what we see repeating itself with Zeta Division 0 getting the first round. Almost a double stun by Totoro. Great reactions from Achapi. Totoro will be able to stay alive. Siotin also having to back up too. They simply can't stay on aggro too long because they don't have any healing for support, but they might have some speed for support. Siotin rushes in, no Gale in sight, a kill on Dakuru, and Tensai might be the next to fall. He's able to clutch a super for himself, and that's really all he was able to get there. He still has a wall break or an escape mechanism if he so wishes, but it is tied up here for game number 2.
Insane Kama made an insane play there on the top right, staying alive with about 80 HP and really clutching a kill there for his teammates. Now things all of a sudden tied 1-1 in rounds, and this is going to give Sunny 10 a chance to take a game here. Much slower start for them, not necessarily pressing the pace as much as they're used to. I'm sure they're waiting to utilize a max super or try and get Buzz landed on one of these players. The good news is that Kale can stun them out of it, and he's actually going to make a connection here. Pushed back immediately though. Totoro going to be forced away, and unfortunately not going to be able to utilize that. Tensai also with a pickup here against BB, and it's going to be very tough for Sanikama, popping a phase shift, not quite out of range though, and now a dash across for Totoro, and nothing he can do. A very clean set for Zeta Division 0 to start off our day.
A clean set, but also not that great of a set for Sunny 10 because we didn't get to see them shine too much. And it is a bit of a mystery. Can we attribute that too much to the pick phase or maybe even the execution? Because Sunny 10, they've been here before. They got the skills to pay the bills. They got the skills to reach this stage in the first place. And picking something like 2 tanks when you know Gale is on the table cannot be a mistake that you make. And for that reason, I don't think it was a mistake. I think it was intentional, and I thought they were going to be able to bait out the Gale. It simply did not work. But Safe Zone could be one of those maps where maybe the tanks come to fruition once again, but we got to roll back the footage to figure out what exactly was going on here. Achapi seemed to have no shortage of gadgets or supers to stun out the enemies when they got close enough.
Yeah, and I think something you mentioned before we started this matchup too is you really got to kind of utilize the element of surprise. If you're going against a team as talented as Zeta Division 0, you know, I respect they tried something new, something that I definitely haven't seen. I imagine Zeta Division 0 probably hasn't seen this run too much. Again, a couple of these brawlers I've never seen played on this map even, and not that they're bad brawlers. I just think given the ban stage and the pick stage, you know, you got to be a little more careful. You at least want to give yourselves a fighting chance. Maybe they thought they could overwhelm with HP, but I thought overall a very interesting approach, and you can kind of see it in the kills. You know, 4 kills on this side of Sunny 10 in total, which is less than Tensai had by himself. And I think that kind of reflects how much of a matchup that was for Zeta Division 0. They really took advantage of the Gale play.
Well, we can clearly see where the step in the right direction was for Sunny 10, with 57% of their damage being dealt by Sanikama, who quickly snatched up that max as soon as he could. Now, it didn't seem to be that much of an issue for Zeta Division 0. They're not one-trick ponies. They don't really need the max to succeed. But really, Sunny 10, I think, needed something a little bit different than the tanks to succeed when you're playing versus Gale. Maybe it works in scrims. It doesn't work versus Zeta Division 0. And even when you bring the element of surprise, you are going to be hard-pressed to catch Zeta 0 off guard and then make them blunder. Yeah, you can surprise them, but they're probably still going to stick to their guns. It's another tendency that we see in this region, not usually playing experimental stuff unless you find yourself in the position of Sunny 10. For Safe Zone, I wonder what else could be brought to the table. A max ban could be in store, and it looks like Zeta 0 are already going to capitalize on that.
Yeah, they don't want to give that up, and it is a sneaky strategy, and I think this region is really known for using the max overall. Like you mentioned, since MSI, it really has shown up a lot more in other regions as well, and both teams could certainly utilize this brawler. A first overall pick of Lola and Bell, 2 brawlers with very high pick rates on this map. Never quite in that ban stage, and therefore going to show up a lot for the pick rates. I love pairing this with a Colonel Ruffs. I think Colonel Ruffs is somebody that I think deserves a lot of credit. Great utility for your teammates. The sandbags go a long way to protect against different sharpshooters. I think overall a very safe start and a very overall good one for Zeta Division 0 going against the high DPS Alola.
And they had the 6 pick 2, which they've gotten twice in a row. So Zeta Division 0, if they ended off here, will have gotten the counter pick both games, which could be a disadvantage for Sunny 10. Now they'll go for the Byron, a dead indicator that they're going to go for something like Daryl or Ash or something funky, something that they're going to try and brute force in the enemy side. Now, big consideration, there's still Gale on the table. Now, with Daryl off the table as well as it has been banned out by Zeta 0, Sunny 10 are going to have to get a little inventive. They might go for the BB again. Griff? Okay. I guess they just don't want to face a tank, but they also don't want the enemy to play Byron. It's a little mysterious, but maybe that's the whole idea.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting. I'm not the biggest fan of Byron in this situation, especially when you don't pair it with something that synergizes as well. I think Colette and Daryl would be two really good ones, but obviously banned on the left-hand side. Griff, a really interesting choice here. I think trying to get themselves some wall break here, which is pretty typical. A lot of the times, the avenue for that, though, is going to be somebody like Brock, and neither side can end up picking that here. Tinsai going to be going with this Squeak pick, which can really excel here, especially with different choke points. I love his gadget. You can throw it down, and for 10 seconds, if the enemy even dares touches it, they're going to get slowed down a ton. It's going to line up very good shots for somebody like Bell, who's a sharpshooter. Overall, really interesting. But again, I think I'm more in love with the Zeta Division 0 draft than I am Sunny 10. You know, they're trying something new. If there's a region that's going to run Byron, it's going to be this one. I mean, it's somebody that's been comfortable for them for a long time. But overall, I still think Zeta Division 0 might have won this draft.
Well, in spite of the kind of weird draft, inventive draft, might I add, by Sunny 10, still looks like Zeta Division 0 are, yeah, I agree, kind of going to win the draft. Kuru, in spite of this wall being broken open on the left side, is going to have way better control than Griff since he has AoE on those shots and they stick around for a while. He's also able to help get that mid-fight victory by slowing down Siotin. Siotin can't pick on Tensai anymore by dashing in and out of his range because, well, he can't get in his range. He has to force himself back and allow damage onto the safe. And Tensai is going to do just that. Some damage trickling in. Doesn't want to waste too many shots because he still has to defend from brawlers on the enemy side. Sanikama going to get slowed down. Kuru also pitching in for some help on that safe. Already 20% knocked off. And Zeta Division 0 show no signs of letting up. Maybe if Totoro opens up the right side a little bit more, it could be possible. One wall remains, and that is going to be the one wall that Achapi uses to fruition for this entire game. In fact, maybe I'll do him a favor. Break open that wall too, but it's only going to allow him to exercise that range even more.
Yeah, and the one benefit that Sunny 10 actually has is the amount of damage they can do in a heist safe, and as quick as they can too, is somebody like Lola and Griff. Kuru really the only one with the super that can get the things done quickly, but now they're already down 62% and now climbing. Zeta Division 0 have not moved. It's been a straight up spawn trap for a while here, and they just need to pick up some kind of kill here. Tensai, though, refusing to miss. Bounce shots being taken advantage of as all of Sunny 10 are kind of crowded along their heist safe, and things just not looking good right now. They're really gonna have to step it up here with the final 45 seconds.
Well, it's kind of looking like Zeta Division 0 are not going to try and take down this safe because they are really inching forward here in terms of control, and they also don't have a whole lot of DPS. Good kill onto Achapi. Likewise, we'll see on the opposite side of the arena, Sanikama gets taken down. Kuru has this super. If he's able to get a good push in, he can chain all those together on the high safe. He will get a slow onto Sanikama, maybe open things up. Really, Zeta Division 0, they just got to play control here. 20 seconds left. It's looking impossible for Sunny 10 to make this up and push forward, and that it will be a third win in a row for Zeta Division 0, and they are steamrolling through these guys.
Yeah, 100% to 0, and they simply weren't winning the matchups. You know, we already were questioning the draft a little bit. Again, definitely some fine brawlers. I have no problem with them in the meta, but I think just interesting choices. And again, you really have to perform in the draft stage if you're going to take on a team like Zeta Division 0. I really feel like they haven't necessarily given themselves any advantages here other than the high DPS of Lola. They're going against a very defensive composition, and I wouldn't think of Sunny 10 is really an aggressive one either. I don't think of Griff as some offensive brawler here. They do pick up a takedown in the Sanikama, and now it's just going to be Siotin and Tortoro trying to play some defense here. Tensai with a super available makes the connection. Kuru with the follow-up shot for a takedown, and once again, it's going to be Zeta Division 0 with a lead to start off by just a little bit, but more importantly, a ton of map control.
Definitely new strategies being tried here by Sunny 10. They're running Byron on the lane instead of up at mid, which could prove to be useful. There's going to be the slow on the left side. It's going to force Sunny Kana to play this lane on the left side versus Kuru, which is not going to be too amazing for him. He can take quite a bit of damage. Almost gets a kill on Kuru. Survives with 199 health. Very calculated matchups, but near miss for Kuru too, as Siotin actually pushes through on the right side. He can play around this tree, the supply drop on the right side, maybe win long range versus Tensai. Kuru's a little out of range to pop down that residue and try and play long range versus him. He can also get good range versus Tensai, but the clock is ticking down, and Zeta Division 0 are phenomenal at playing control. They're exactly where they're comfortable. In fact, they might be comfortable everywhere on the map, except if Lola can get on their safe, which is what Sunny 10 needs to do.
Yeah, and 2 nest eggs still available as well for defense. The Squeak Gadget going to force them towards the mid, and now Lola going to be moving that direction. Kuru on the left-hand side still continuing to stay up here and cause a lot of problems. Tensai picking up his mid lane once again, now attempting for a little 1v2 scenario. Teammate to help out though, and Kuru picks up the kill for Toro. Going to be all alone here as Byron tries to get back in action. Kuru stepping forward, super going down, and that's going to be maximum damage of 9,000 onto the high safe, and things getting out of hand very quickly here. Less than 30 seconds to go.
Zeta Division Zero doing a good job of cycling in and out of the range of Sunny 10. Meanwhile, doing a whole lot of damage. Choppy is looking particularly threatening. Siotin needs to connect these shots. Down come the final sandbags as the Choppy is stretching them out to the very end of the game. Could be a supply drop coming in as well to disrupt Totoro. We got to see a whole lot of damage in a short period of time. Sanikama won't get healed in time. Siotin also going to get defended here. 10% finds its way on a Zeta Zero safe. And that's gonna be it. Zeta Division Zero get a clean 4-0 sweep versus Sunny 10 in the quarterfinals. Some things don't change, Kenny. You face the twin sister of the team that beat you last time. Even if you got a single game off of that previous matchup, you're still in for a pretty rough time. And we saw some good signs of life. We saw some inventiveness, but that is simply not enough to take these guys down.
Yeah, I definitely respect them getting out of their comfort zone maybe a little bit, or going for comfort brawlers. I think a lot of the times when we look at the draft stage, you know, it's really easy for someone like me to look at this and be like, why did they go Griff? Why are they going Byron? I feel like there's other better brawlers, but you got to understand what's in their utility kit too. Byron might be a brawler that they excel at. Maybe there's just things we don't know about this team since we haven't seen them every month. These maybe the brawlers that got him here in the first place. So sometimes you got to go what's comfortable too. I think it's a little more gray than it is black and white at times. But again, I feel like that draft stage is a very important one. They did their best, but again, the mechanics of Zeta Division Zero still looking as strong as ever, and once again, the kills being a huge reflector of that.
We got outer dafted is the words echoing in the minds of Sunny 10 right now as they tried something inventive and were not able to pull it off, but they did get some kills here and there, and they did get some decent damage versus such a dominating team. This team won the monthly finals last month and versus Zeta 1 as well. Zeta Division Zero, though, across the board looking phenomenal just as always. They didn't take any risks in playing anything super aggressive versus Sunny 10, even though they had the counter pick at their disposal. And Tensai always going to be one of the most valuable players on this roster. Though we didn't see any max action from him today, that's for a good reason. This guy is cracked when it comes to mechanics.
That's absolutely true. And I mean, KD isn't everything in this game, especially in objective based modes like Heist, where you're trying to apply a lot of damage and win that percentage fight. But 8-2 is pretty insane. I mean, really 4.0 in terms of ratio is kind of a crazy thing for anybody, especially at a professional level. Always impressive and good to see him back in action after, I believe, being sick a few weeks ago.
That's unfortunate for him, but it's great to see him back up and running. Wonder if some max energy was part of that equation. But jokes aside, this is real serious for Zeta Zero. They're headed on to the semifinals, which is a lot more than we could say for them in previous months as they got stopped dead in their tracks by Zeta 1. Not going to be the reality this month, but if anything, we gotta find a worthy opponent for them. Ataru Chan Club in Triangle is coming up next for our second quarter final. Ataru Chan Club, definitely a team that you might not be familiar with in terms of names, but in terms of the names of the players, not the name of the team. That's a new one. The names of the players should resonate in your mind if you know absolutely anything about this region, Kenny.
Yeah, this is formerly known as the Blood Diamond roster. They were recently dropped, I believe, by their organization, but they are sitting in 4th place in the region. And, you know, the likelihood of them making World Finals is starting to look a little more bleak in terms of time, right? This is grind time for all of these teams. This is where things really start to count. Everybody is starting to try and attempt to lock in their spots. And this is definitely a roster that is capable of it, but they've got to win a couple monthly finals, make some grand finals appearances, pull some upsets off. And I certainly think they are capable of doing that in our quarterfinals.
Well, Ataru Chan Club, they're not the only stars of this matchup. Triangle are also going to be stepping up to the plate. This is their first ever monthly final, ever. in 2022, in 2021, period, ever. These guys are some fresh faces to the region. Maybe this is time to start taking some notes. It's Kokoro, Yuki, Me, and Marvelous all taking the stage and trying to make a name for themselves too. Get familiar with those portraits. Maybe we'll see some of those brawlers show up, Rico, Daryl, and BB. And I would certainly keep your eyes on Daryl and BB. Some pretty popular picks as of late. BB maybe midway through the draft, and Daryl pretty much always going to be a final pick available. I think that this could be a interesting match. Last month, the Target Chain Club took their first match win ever, and sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Hopefully, for the sake of Ataru, that's not a step back for today.
Yeah, I expect some good things out of them. In Triangle, always great to see some new players coming out. It's awesome that in this point of the year, there is still a lot of depth in the region to the point where some new players that haven't made it in 2021, first time in 2022, that's super awesome. And congrats to them. Making that top 8 from any region is tough. But of course, your first opponent is going to be the 4th seed in this region. Somebody that's probably highly motivated right now too, given the recent roster change, at least with the organization. And I think these guys are really talented. I think this was somebody that was kind of a dark horse coming into the year that early on had a few losses in the first few months, and now they're finally starting to hit their stride a little bit. I've definitely been more impressed with what I've seen from them. I'm personally going to go Ataru Chan Club here just because of the experience, and I think they've got a lot of potential.
Same here, and I think also at the helm they have one of the most important figures in the history of competitive Brawl Stars. If you had a Brawl Stars Hall of Fame, and I gave you a little bit of time to write things down, I'm definitely convinced that Hagego would be one of the names on that list. That's a coach for this team. Now, it hasn't brought them to victory in the past few months, but it did probably provide some assistance last month, and we'll see if that roster change plays a major role too. Bans coming out, and the first pick from Triangle is going to be Penny. Definitely a solid first pick considering that Janet and Bonnie are banned. Also, the value of the turret, and look, we got the pick rates up here. Let's break out the statistics and the science. This is simply a good brawler on this map.
Yeah, I think the Penny can be used a lot of times for applying a lot of pressure. One of the reasons its brawler pick rates is going to be very high, and this is one of the few times too that we see a mirror matchup in the bans. It is very infrequent that we see exact bans for both sides. Carl, Janet, Bonnie, some insane choices on this map, and totally understandable why brawlers, even like Penny, as strong as she is, can slip through the cracks. You see Brock in your screen too. Somebody I would be a little more surprised to maybe see in this region compared to some of the others, but Max, Squeak, no surprises here.
I actually wouldn't be mega shocked to see him. Now that we see Gene, okay, I'm a little bit more apprehensive as to whether we'll see this brawler or not. I think that Bell is still going to be a pretty solid pick here because Atari Chan Club could go for something tanky, and Bell can do a good job of slowing that down. Unlikely to see a preemptive Gale pick here. I'm also not going to disagree with Colonel Ruffs, the dog, making an entrance here to make Gene just that much more powerful. There are a whole lot of options for Triangle to try out here, and there's going to be the Colonel Ruffs. This is one of the best combos that you can get in the game. Gene and Colonel Ruffs, if you decide to run field promotion and Gene is running magic puffs, as he probably should, then you just buff each other for the entire game. How can Ataru Chain Club possibly respond to this?
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting one to watch, and I think pairing Gene as well with Max could have also been really solid. I like how Triangle are taking this brawler away from them. And again, Gene's a very dynamic brawler, especially in today's game where, you know, there are a little bit of a mix of new gears and things like that. The vision can do well. I love this choice of Sprout, to be honest with you. There's nothing that hard counters it. They're going to need something to try and take down the enemy turret if Penny can set it up, and Squeak and Sprout can be some excellent candidates for that, even though Max doesn't necessarily synergize overtly with either Squeak or Sprout. I think this can work out really well. Again, this is a brawler that this region is very comfortable with. They practice it pretty daily. I think overall, pretty solid compositions for both sides. I don't have too many complaints, but I do think that Sprout pick is going to be a pretty solid way to play in sandbags if Colonel Ruffs runs that and give Gene and Penny a little bit of trouble.
I agree, and I also disagree, because there are two sides to every debate, right? You have Gene playing into a thrower. He's going to be able to pull him through walls. Now, with a max speed, that could be a great accessory to having an actual aggro Sprout player. So this really comes down to execution, whether it will win or not, but there's certainly room for it to be countered and room for it to be played marvelously as well, as we turn our attention to Penny here, trying to get a close range matchup versus Dempsey, hard-walled literally out of getting back to spawn, and a free kill for Ataru Chan Club as they continue to rain down fire upon their opponents, waiting for that shield to expire too so they can get that much more damage. Milcario continues raining down the damage. It is crazy, and even the gadget from Colonel Ruffs as he Mimi knows that those sandbags are going to get countered out, cannot get Dimsy out of here.
Yeah, I do think choosing the Rocket Rain gadget is going to be a smart choice. Mimi just toying with his food a little bit, taking shots at Mocreo even, and Mimi now dashing forward, going to be utilizing a very different gadget here. Kind of interesting choice.
Yeah.
Marvelous once again trying to step up to the